Decline and dishonesty, a topic which I wrote a Murrin about, and I really wanted to articulate a little bit more. When empires grow, they go through three stages. You've heard me talk about it: regionalization, expansion to empire, maturity. In those phases, the acquisition process for resources and wealth, in the politest possible way, may not be constrained by effective rules. But by the time maturity is reached, what happens is that those rules are required to contain and create balance in a system. If they're not placed, the system becomes imbalanced, and so rules, values and ethics become much more important than any other stage of the cycle. Then as you enter decline, problems start to arise. Businesses tend to be squeezed by margins get narrower, and they start to break those rules. So the breaking of an old rule base is really about a survival imperative. And that imperative essentially means that large organizations break the rules they made. Looking back at the Western world, you could say that started with the Americans using rendition and torture, something which really their core values did not subscribe to prior to 9/11. In 2008, we look at the leverage mechanisms in the bank. Although they were promoted more by politicians and bankers so they could be re-elected, essentially it was perceived to be a dishonest process. And more recently, we've got Volkswagen in industry, an organisation that's created dishonesty through a testing mechanism that it seeks to avoid. And maybe we have to ask ourselves the question of, yes, they were wrong, but is there something more, is there something bigger happening in our society that essentially our way of life has been squeezed and the rules we created at the peak are now constraining people from surviving? In that context, how would we change it? And we would change it quite simply by, first of all, we need economic vibrance in our society, and that is coupled with ethics and values. And the two go together. If you don't have values, you won't have vibrancy, and vice versa. So politicians need to lead the campaign whereby values are returned to society, and that also contributes to economic viability.